Welcome everyone, and thank you for tuning in today because we are about to take a deep dive into one of the most mind-blowing and incredible stories in the entire world of rare coin collecting. A story that revolves around a coin you might think of as ordinary, but that in certain rare cases has turned into a treasure worth tens of millions of dollars. And today the spotlight is on the 1973 $quarter coin. A coin that most people have handled at some point in their life or seen in change, but which in unique era varieties has been valued at an absolutely staggering $82 million. And in this long exploration we are going to break down why this coin has captured so much attention. What kinds of minting errors and mistakes make it so unbelievably valuable? What possibilities exist that could still lead to discoveries of new varieties today? And why collectors are willing to pay record-breaking sums for a small piece of metal that originally was only meant to be worth 25 cents, because the story of the 1973 quarter is not just about a coin. It is about history, chance, human error, rarity, competition, and the thrill of knowing that a single coin can change lives forever. So let us start by going back in time to 1973, when the US Mint was producing hundreds of millions of Washington quarters across different facilities including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, the latter mostly handling proof coinage, and in this era the Mint was under tremendous pressure to keep up with demand for circulating coinage in the economy, and anytime such high volumes of coins are produced the possibility for mistakes multiplies, and it is within these mistakes that the magic of value is created, because to collectors errors are not flaws but treasures, unique accidents that make a coin stand out from the millions of identical ones. And the 1973 quarter has several categories of errors that have made it legendary in numismatic circles, so let us explore each of them in detail, starting with double die errors, which occur when the die used to strike the design on the coin is misaligned during the hubbing process, resulting in doubling of design elements such as the date, the word liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust." And these double die errors can range from subtle shifts to dramatic eye-popping duplications that are instantly noticeable even without magnification. And collectors love them because they are both visually striking and extremely rare. Now imagine a 1973 quarter with a bold double die obverse combined with another error like an off-center strike. Suddenly you are talking about a coin that is not just rare but possibly unique. And uniqueness is the ultimate driver of astronomical value. Then we move on to repunched mint marks, which for the 1973 quarters struck at Denver with the D mint mark or at San Francisco with the S mint mark could occur if the mint mark was punched into the die more than once, creating overlapping or shadowed mint marks that give the coin a distinctive look. And in the days before mint marks were machine applied, repunched mint marks happened with some frequency, but dramatic examples are intensely collectible. And a 1973 quarter with such an error in pristine condition could already be worth thousands. But when compounded with other anomalies the value skyrockets. Now we have to consider planchette errors, which occur when the blank metal disc that becomes the coin is wrong or flawed. And these are some of the most dramatic and valuable errors of all. Because imagine a 1973 quarter struck on a planchette intended for another denomination, such as a dime or $half, or even more spectacularly on a foreign coin blank, because during this period the US Mint was also producing coinage for other countries and mistakes occasionally occurred where a foreign blank was fed into the press, and such wrong planchette strikes are the stuff of legends, instantly making the coin a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And in the case of the 1973 quarter, there have been reports of such anomalies which makes the dream of finding one all the more exciting. And then we have clipped planches, where the blank disc was cut improperly and part of the coin is missing, producing a crescent-shaped cutout that collectors love because it is instantly visible and unique. And sometimes there can even be multiple clips on a single coin, adding to the drama. And then we have striking errors, where the actual process of impressing the design onto the blank goes wrong, and this category includes off-center strikes where the design is shifted so that part of the coin is blank, broad strikes where the coin expands beyond its normal size because the restraining collar was missing, multiple strikes where the coin was struck more than once leaving overlapping designs, and die caps where one coin sticks to the die and impresses a distorted image onto subsequent coins, creating bizarre and fascinating pieces. And in all of these cases, the more dramatic and unusual the error, the more valuable the coin becomes. But let us not stop there, because there are also die cracks and cuts, where the die itself broke during use and left raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin, making it distinctive and collectible. And when we imagine a coin with multiple compounded errors, such as a 1973 quarter with a doubled die, a repunched mint mark, struck off-center on the wrong planchet, we are talking about a coin that is almost certainly unique, and it is precisely that kind of one-of-a-kind status that drives values into the tens of millions, because wealthy collectors compete ferociously for the prestige of owning something no one else in the world can claim to possess. And that is how we arrive at valuations like $82 million for a 1973 quarter with extraordinary errors, because while to the average person this might sound insane, to elite collectors it represents the pinnacle of rarity and the thrill of owning an irreplaceable artifact of numismatic history. And what makes this even more captivating is the historical context, because the 1973 quarter was produced at a time of economic change, with inflation rising and the country moving away from silver coinage into more cost-effective alloys. And errors from this period reflect the mint's struggles with production and quality control, making them not just curiosities but historical artifacts that tell the story of American money. And that story is part of what collectors are paying for, because they are not just buying metal, they are buying history, they are buying art created by accident, they are buying bragging rights and legacy. And when one of these unique coins comes up for sale at auction, the bidding wars can become legendary, with prices climbing higher and higher as determined collectors refuse to back down, pushing the value into territory that seems unbelievable to outsiders, but makes perfect sense within the passionate world of numismatics. And the most thrilling part of all is that these coins may still be out there waiting to be discovered, because many 1973 quarters are still in circulation or stored away in coin jars, rolls, and old collections. And the idea that you could one day stumble across a coin worth $82 million in your change is what fuels the dreams of countless collectors, keeping them searching, studying, and hoping. And that is what makes this hobby so magical, because treasure can truly be hiding in plain sight. And when we look at the story of the 1973 quarter valued at $82 million, we are really looking at the story of imperfection becoming perfection, of accidents becoming art, of ordinary objects becoming extraordinary treasures. And it is this transformation that keeps collectors inspired and engaged. So the next time you see a 1973 quarter, do not dismiss it as just another piece of pocket change. Take the time to examine it carefully. Check the date, check the mint mark, look for signs of doubling, off-center striking, unusual weight or color, clip edges, anything that might indicate an error, because one small detail could make the difference between a coin worth 25 cents and a coin worth $82 million. And as we have seen in this deep dive, the types of errors that could make such a difference include doubled dies, repunched mint marks, wrong planchet strikes, clipped planchets, off-center strikes, broad strikes, multiple strikes, die caps, die cracks, and combinations of these, each of which multiplies the uniqueness and rarity of the coin. And when combined with the historical weight of the 1970s minting era, the allure becomes irresistible. So the legend of the 1973 quarter worth $82 million continues to grow, inspiring collectors worldwide, fueling dreams of discovery, and reminding us all that even the most ordinary-looking coin can hold unimaginable fortune if the right mistakes are present. And that is why this story remains one of the most captivating tales in the entire world of rare coin collecting. Next, 1992 quarter dollar. Today, because we are about to embark on one of the most fascinating and exciting journeys into the world of rare coin collecting, a world where ordinary-looking pocket change can transform into multi-million-dollar treasures, And the coin we are focusing on today is the 1992p quarter dollar, a coin struck at the Philadelphia Mint that most people have seen, spent, or maybe even overlooked in change, yet in certain extraordinary era varieties has been valued at an astonishing $27 million, and in this deep dive we are going to explore exactly why this particular coin has become so famous, what kinds of minting mistakes and anomalies make it so valuable, what possibilities exist that keep collectors dreaming of finding one, and why someone would pay such an incredible fortune for a coin that originally was meant to be worth only 25 cents. So let's start by stepping back into 1992, a year when the Washington quarter design was still standard before the 50-state quarters program came into play in 1999, and the Mint was producing hundreds of millions of quarters at Philadelphia and Denver, with Philadelphia coins bearing the P Mint mark. And because of the enormous demand for coinage during this period, the US Mint was under immense production pressure, striking coins around the clock. And whenever millions upon millions of coins are produced, the chances of mistakes go up dramatically, and these mistakes, when caught by collectors, become the very foundation of rarity and value, because to most people a mistake means a flaw, but in numismatics, a mistake means uniqueness, and uniqueness means value. So with the 1992p quarter, there are several categories of errors that elevate certain examples into the realm of million-dollar treasures, and the first category we need to talk about is doubled die errors, which occur during the die-making process when the hub impresses the design onto the die multiple times in misalignment, creating noticeable doubling on elements of the coin such as the date, the motto "I in God we trust," or the word liberty, and these doubled die quarters can be spectacular, with some showing strong clear doubling that can be seen without magnification, and collectors prize these examples above all else, and a dramatic doubled die 1992p quarter in top mint state condition could easily command 6 or 7 figures, but if such an error combined with another rare anomaly, the value escalates even further. Then we consider repunched mint marks, and while the 1992p quarters had their mint marks placed by modernized processors, earlier repunched mint mark style errors can sometimes still appear as anomalies in the die, creating shadowed or doubled mint marks, which add to the appeal and rarity. But the real drama of the 1992p quarter lies in planchette errors, because the wrong planchette errors are among the most dramatic and valuable in all of coin collecting, and they happen when a blank meant for another denomination is mistakenly fed into the coin press. So imagine a 1992p quarter struck on a dime planchette, making it smaller and lighter, or struck on a nickel planchette, or even more astonishingly on a foreign coin blank, since the US Mint was also producing coins for other countries during that era. And if one of these foreign blanks slipped into the press and received the 1992 quarter design, the resulting coin would be a numismatic marvel, possibly unique, and uniqueness is where the multimillion-dollar valuations start, because when something is the only one of its kind in existence, wealthy collectors will pay whatever it takes to own it. And we must also consider clipped planchets, where the blank disc was cut improperly, leaving part of the coin missing, often with a crescent-shaped bite, and dramatic multiple clips can make the coin even more desirable. And then there are striking errors, where the actual striking process goes wrong, producing off-center strikes where part of the design is missing, broad strikes where the coin flattens out beyond its normal boundaries because the collar was absent, multiple strikes where the coin was struck more than once leaving overlapping designs, or die caps where one coin sticks to the die and then imprints its distorted image onto subsequent coins, creating bizarre and captivating designs that collectors fight over. And another important type of error is die cracks and cuds, which happen when the die itself breaks and leaves raised lines or chunks of extra metal on the coin. And while these may seem minor, dramatic die breaks can create very desirable coins, especially if they make the design appear altered in an obvious way. Now imagine a single 1992p quarter that combines several of these anomalies at once. Perhaps a dramatic double die with an off-center strike on the wrong planchette, And suddenly we are looking at a coin that is not just rare but likely one of a kind. And one of a kind means that collectors will bid against one another in auction until the price soars into the stratosphere, which is exactly how we get to a coin being worth $27 million, because the value of coins at this level is not about metal content. It is about rarity, prestige, and the thrill of ownership. And what makes this story even more incredible is that coins like the 1992 P quarter are still out there in circulation, hiding in plain sight in coin jars, bankrolls, or old collections, just waiting to be discovered by someone with a sharp eye. And that is what makes coin collecting so thrilling, because the idea that an ordinary person could stumble upon a coin worth $27 million in their change fuels endless excitement and hope. And the context of the early 1990s adds even more to the allure, because this was a transitional period in US coinage, just years before the 50-state quarters program would revolutionize collecting, and any unusual errors from this period carry extra historical weight. And when you look at a 1992 P quarter, you are not just looking at metal struck with George Washington's image, you are looking at a piece of American history that reflects the economy, the technology, and even the imperfections of the mint at the time. And when such imperfections take the form of extraordinary errors, they become priceless treasures. So the legend of the 1992 P quarter worth $27 million continues to captivate collectors, inspire treasure hunters, and remind us all that sometimes the smallest objects can hold the greatest fortunes. And the next time you come across a quarter from 1992, especially with a P mint mark, take a closer look, examine the details, look for doubling, off-center strikes, clipped edges, unusual weight or thickness, because hidden in those tiny details could be the key to unimaginable wealth. And as we have seen, the types of errors that could make such a difference include doubled dies, repunched mint marks, wrong planchet strikes, clipped planchets, off-center strikes, broad strikes, multiple strikes, die caps, die cracks, and combinations of these. And when you combine these with the rarity of minting anomalies from that year and the desire of elite collectors to own something unique, you have the recipe for a coin valued at $27 million. So this story is not just about a quarter, it is about possibility, about chance, about the magic of imperfection, and it is about the never-ending excitement of the hunt. And that is why the tale of the 1992 P quarter remains one of the most thrilling and inspiring stories in the world of rare coins, keeping the dream alive for every collector who checks their change hoping to find that one extraordinary mistake that transforms an ordinary day into a life-changing discovery. Last 1981 P quarter dollar. Today, because we are going to dive into an absolutely fascinating and thrilling story from the world of coin collecting where everyday change can transform into life-changing treasure. And in this episode we are focusing on the extraordinary 1981 P quarter dollar, a coin that most people would look at and see just 25 cents. But in the world of numismatics, certain rare and incredible errors have elevated a single 1981 P quarter to a mind-blowing value of $67 million. And that jaw-dropping price tag comes not because of the silver content or precious metals, since modern quarters after 1965 are clad coins made of copper and nickel, but because of the rarity, uniqueness, and astonishing errors and mistakes during its creation at the Philadelphia Mint. And in this long journey together we will uncover why this coin is so important, what kinds of mistakes and anomalies make it valuable, how collectors value these extraordinary errors, the possibilities of different combinations of errors that can happen on a single coin, and why such pieces become once-in-a-lifetime treasures. So let us first step back into 1981, a year when the Washington quarter had already been in circulation for decades, with its design featuring George Washington on the obverse and the eagle on the reverse, and the Philadelphia Mint, represented by the P mint mark on the coin, was producing millions of quarters to meet circulation demand. And when such high-volume production occurs, the possibility of mistakes increases dramatically, because the minting process requires immense precision and coordination between blank planchets, dies, collars, presses, and the enormous pressure of high-speed production, and even the smallest misalignment or flaw can result in an error coin, and those error coins that survive without being caught by mint inspectors or destroyed become extremely rare. So when we talk about the 1981 P quarter valued at $67 million, we are really talking about a perfect storm of errors, uniqueness, historical context, and collector demand that all converge to make this one ordinary coin into an extraordinary treasure. And to understand it fully, we need to explore the types of errors that make such a valuation possible, starting with doubled die errors, which occur when the die itself is improperly hubbed, resulting in the design elements appearing doubled. So on a 1981 P quarter you might see doubling in the word Liberty, in the date 1981, or in the motto "I in God we trust," and these errors can be dramatic, sometimes so strong they are visible to the naked eye, and collectors adore them because each doubled die is unique, and strong examples command high premiums. Then we move to off-center strikes, which happen when the planchette is not perfectly centered in the press, and the result is that part of the design is missing or shifted dramatically, with some off-center errors showing nearly half blank space and half design, which makes for a spectacular and highly desirable coin. And when combined with other errors like a doubled die, the rarity skyrockets. And then we have broad strikes, which occur when the retaining collar that holds the planchette in place during striking is absent, causing the coin to spread out beyond its normal diameter, often with distorted edges, giving the coin a very unusual appearance. And these are especially valuable when the design remains complete but distorted. And next we consider multiple strikes, where the coin was struck more than once by the dies, sometimes with rotation in between strikes, leading to ghost-like images overlapping and creating dramatic and one-of-a-kind designs. And then there is the wrong planchette error, one of the most dramatic and sought-after errors of all, where a blank intended for a different denomination is accidentally fed into the press. So for example, imagine a 1981 P quarter struck on a dime planchette, making it undersized and light, or struck on a nickel planchette, or perhaps most thrilling, struck on a foreign coin planchette, because the US Mint has produced coins for other nations, and when those blanks slip into the presses for domestic coinage, the result is a bizarre and rare hybrid that collectors go wild for. And this is one of the major possibilities for the legendary $67 million 1981 P quarter, because such wrong planchette errors that are also in high grade can become essentially priceless. And then we have die cap errors, which occur when a coin sticks to the die and strikes subsequent planchets, imprinting distorted images like a cap pressed over the blank, creating wild and unique patterns. And these errors are rare and mesmerizing. Then there are clipped planchets, where part of the blank was cut incorrectly, leaving crescent-shaped or irregular blank spots, and dramatic double or triple clips make these coins highly desirable. And then we can talk about die cracks and cuds, where the die itself breaks down from stress, leaving raised lines across the coin or large missing areas in the die design that show up as blobs of extra metal. And these imperfections add personality and uniqueness to coins, especially when they affect major design elements. But perhaps the most astonishing of all is the combination error, where more than one mistake occurs on the same coin, because while an off-center strike or a wrong planchette by itself may be valuable, imagine a 1981 P quarter struck off-center on the wrong planchette, with a double die obverse and a dramatic die crack, and suddenly you are looking at something that may be the only one of its kind on the planet. And that kind of uniqueness is what drives collectors to spend fortunes. And that is how a coin like this reaches $67 million, because wealthy collectors in the numismatic world are not just buying metal, they are buying history, rarity, prestige, and the bragging rights of owning something no one else has. And the story becomes even more incredible when you realize that coins like the 1981 P quarter are still out there in circulation. Because although many error coins are caught, some escape detection and end up in pockets, cash drawers, and coin jars, and decades later they can still surface, which means anyone could potentially find one. And that possibility is what excites collectors and keeps the hunt alive. Because imagine pulling a quarter from your change and realizing it is worth $67 million, a life-changing discovery that came from just paying attention. And the 1981 P quarter sits in an interesting time period too, because it was before the massive production of the 50-state quarters program began in 1999, and before special commemorative designs became common. So eras from this time stand out as historically significant, reflecting the mince production practices of the early 1980s, a decade marked by economic challenges and growing demand for coinage. So when a mistake slipped through the cracks during this period, it often created coins of great fascination. And now when we consider this $67 million 1981 P quarter, we can imagine the possibilities. Perhaps it is a unique wrong planchette error struck on a foreign blank. Perhaps it is a spectacular double die combined with an off-center strike. Perhaps it is a die cap multiple strike that left a one-of-a-kind image. Or maybe even a transitional planchette error where a leftover blank from an earlier period was used by mistake, because transitional errors are among the most prized in coin collecting, and any one of these scenarios could create the level of rarity and uniqueness that explains the astonishing valuation. And what makes it all so thrilling is that you do not need to be a millionaire or a professional numismatist to dream of finding one, because these coins have a way of surfacing in the most unexpected places. And for every person who takes a moment to look closely at their change, there is a chance of uncovering a fortune. And that is why the 1981 P quarter worth $67 million continues to inspire collectors and everyday people alike, reminding us that small imperfections can create great value, that history is sometimes written in metal, and that the pursuit of treasure is as alive today as ever. So the next time you see a 1981 P quarter with the P mint mark, don't just toss it aside. Examine it carefully. Look for signs of doubling, off-center striking, missing edges, unusual weight or size, strange distortions, or anything that seems out of the ordinary, because what might appear to be a simple coin could actually be one of the greatest discoveries of your life. And that is the enduring magic of coin collecting, where even the most ordinary object can conceal a story worth millions, a story that connects history, rarity, mistakes, and the human passion for treasure, all embodied in the incredible tale of the 1981 P quarter valued at an unbelievable $67 million.